All right, Shalom, all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakha Kodash. Much honor and respect to the different fervent elders of Great Millstone who I learned this truth from. And salutations to you brothers out here pushing this word in truth and in sincerity and with charity. And this is not going to be a real long lesson, hopefully not through the spirit. And it's concerning, the prophets, that have risen up in these last days. Because the scripture speaks on there being many false prophets, all right, and there being actual prophets, and it kind of goes into, and I did a lesson a while back going into, how you can tell, all right, who's true, who's not, and this is all, all these things are done for us to ultimately correct ourselves, because what the Lord will do is he'll send actual prophets among men that actually are not prophets, because you have in the scriptures. All right, I'm gonna actually just get it. Let me just get it real quick. All right, this is because a lot of men, see, you have to be born a prophet. Not everybody is a prophet. This is why the Lord said, are all prophets, are all apostles, are all teachers. You have men that are just teachers. You have men that are just priests. All right, the prophets are in a completely different world than the priest. All right, they're in a completely different world than what? The teachers, the evangelists, so on and so forth, man. They're different positions. And the Lord always, even Apostle Dahar said this, man. The Lord is only dealing with the prophets. Not everyone is a prophet, and that's why there's like a lot of confusion that comes to the forefront in these last days, because everyone thinks they're a prophet. When you read scriptures, all right, you're reading another man's prophecy. You're reading his vision. And that's literally what we're all doing. But you have actual men that are prophets, that are seers, that see stuff before it comes. Those are the prophets, and that is who the Lord is dealing with. All right. They can measure, they can discern what's happening in the spirit. They can discern the times. All right. Precisely, not guessing. Okay. So I'm going to grab this real quick, and I don't want to make this too long, man, because you're going to have men that actually believe they're prophets, and they're not prophets. They're just teachers, or you're just evangelists, or you're just a believer. You see? And I'm going to show you an example of this. All right. Even elders. There's elders and so on and so forth that are not prophets. They're just elders, elder teachers, elder bishops and deacons, so on and so forth, man. Everyone is not a prophet. If you believe in Yahweh Shem Yahshua, that's great. That's beautiful. That does not mean you are a prophet. This is what a lot of men get confused with. This is 1 Corinthians 12. We'll go down here. 1 Corinthians 12 and 28. And this is to set the stage, so to speak. 1 Corinthians 12. All right, 1 Corinthians 12, verse 28. And the Most High hath set some in the church, first apostles, secondarily prophets, thirdly teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healings, helps, governments, diversity of tongues. Everyone is not a prophet. And this is what this is showing you. All right. Because you have brothers that'll go out here and believe I'm a prophet of the Lord and this and that. No, you could just be a teacher, which is good. You still gonna get salvation from the Lord. You could be a miracle. You could be a help. You could be a setter forth of government and standards, which a lot of brothers been talking to. We gotta have standards. I've been hearing brothers say this. You might be a part of the governments the Lord is setting up, that you help construct government. That does not mean you are a prophet. And it's a shame that brothers have been reading these scriptures for years and they don't understand the different offices that the Lord has put men into. And then when a man is actually a prophet, they disrespect that man and don't disregard what that man says, just as our forefathers did in the past. The prophets would come to them and tell them these things, and they would cast the prophets into prisons and dungeons, into the holes. They'll crucify them. They would laugh at them. they would laugh them to scorn. This is why these things are written. Ecclesiastes 1:9. There's nothing new under the sun, man. Everyone is not a prophet. Everyone is not a teacher. Everyone is not a worker of miracles. You have different diversities of tongues. You have different gifts. And and what happens is certain men are not, they're not satisfied with what the Lord gave them, the teaching standard and this type of spirit and lot the Lord gave them. So what? When an actual prophet comes around, they disregard that man because they believe, no, I'm the prophet. I know everything. And that's not the case. Everyone is not a prophet. This is the scriptures are saying it here. All right. Verse 29, it says, are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Have all the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But covet earnestly the best gifts, and yet shew I unto you a more excellent way. Not everyone's a prophet. I was watching a video of a brother in Great Millstone. I forgot what the brother's name was. He was saying that, this has standards and this comes with order. And okay, we understand that. Then you would be a part of that body that what sets forth and establishes government. That does not mean you are a prophet. Because why? Now I'm going to go into the second part of what I'm trying to make a point at. You have wicked prophets too. Okay? Not every prophet is righteous. See, this thing is tricky, man. Okay? Why do I say this? Let's go here real quick. Let's go to Jeremiah, the 6th chapter. Why would this be said then? This is Jeremiah chapter 6. And I don't want to make this too long. Jeremiah 6:11. Therefore I am full of the fury of the Lord. I am weary with withholding in. I will pour it out upon the children abroad and upon the assembly of young men together. For even the husband with the wife shall be taken, the age with him that is full of days, and their houses shall be turned into others with their fields and wives together. For I will stretch out my hand upon the inhabitants of the land, saith the Lord. For from the least of them, even unto the greatest of them, every one is given to covetousness. And from the prophet, even unto the priest, every one dealeth falsely. So what Jeremiah just said, Jeremiah is a prophet, right? So is not he condemning other prophets right here in what he just said? Which shows you have to beware of what so-called prophet you're listening to. Everyone is not a prophet. And if they are a prophet, you have to beware to see and check if they are a false prophet. This is how tricky this is, man. Everyone is not and this usually happens. Men usually make themselves prophets when the Lord didn't make them a prophet. The Lord just made them a teacher, which is a great office. The Lord just made them an evangelist, which is a great office. The Lord just made them what? An elder, which is a high office, so on and so forth, man. But the Lord is only dealing with the prophets that he sent, his prophets. There's many prophets out here. You have many prophets teaching the truth. False and true prophets. Usually the false prophets, it stems back to them wanting to be something that they're not. They have been given what? The office to set up and establish a sort of government. That's as far as you go. That's your office. You're not a prophet. You have some men that are set up to be teachers, elders. Even some elders are not prophets. They're elders. And they're respected and honored as elders. That's as far as that goes with the Lord. This is why Jeremiah, Isaiah, the prophets, this is why they went and caught so much hell, because everyone in the time thought they knew what was going on. They thought they was a prophet. And what? The Lord did not send them as a prophet. The Lord sent them as what? Another type of office. Like we read in Corinthians. This is where you start to get self-willed prophets, which are really false prophets, because they're not really prophets. They might be a teacher, establisher of government, so on and so forth, man. That's it. That's as far as your office goes. And men don't understand these things because they try to do everything. They try to be all the different things. They try to be the government. They try to be the prophet. They try to be the elder and the priest. That's why Corinthians said that, are all prophets? Damn, y'all all everything, are all this, are all that? No, you have prophets that are specifically sent here as prophets. That's their office. They don't have They're not a off. They're not a man of the establishing of government. That's not their office. That's another man's office. It's like I don't understand how we don't understand these things, man. So from that, what you have men that become self-willed and they believe that they're prophets when they're in fact not prophets. They have another office, and you're gonna get your reward. You see? The house of David, it was a whole house. Was everybody a prophet in the house of David? No. It was really just Nathan and the smaller prophets with him. His servants. Was Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Isaiah. These were the prophets the Lord was actually dealing with. Then you have false prophets even during their time. Which is why here in Jeremiah the 6th chapter, Jeremiah himself being a prophet, prophesied the downfall of other prophets. Everyone is not a prophet. This is what has to be made clear. Let's read it again. Jeremiah 6:12. And their houses shall be turned unto others with their fields and wives together. For I will stretch out my hand upon the inhabitants of the land, saith the Lord. For from the least of them even unto the greatest of them, everyone is given to covetousness. And from the prophet even unto the priests, everyone dealeth falsely. See? So Jeremiah himself being a prophet prophesied against other prophets because they weren't really sent from the Lord. Why? Because they were sent. Let's grab this real quick. Let's get another example. Let's get the example with Ahab, King Ahab. He had prophets under him that thought they were prophets. All right. This is 1 Kings 22. We'll start at 1. 1 Kings 22:1. And they continued 3 years without war between Syria and Israel. And it came to pass in the 3rd year that Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, came down to the king of Israel. And the king of Israel said unto his servants, Know ye that Ramoth in Gilead is ours, and we be still, and take it not out of the hand of the king of Syria? And he said unto Jehoshaphat, Wilt thou go with me to battle, Ramoth Gilead? And Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, I am as thou art, my people as thy people, my horses as thy horses. And Jehoshaphat said, or Jehoshaphat said unto the king of Israel, Inquire, I pray thee, at the word of the Lord today. Then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said unto them, Shall I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And they said, Go up, for the Lord shall deliver it into the hands of the king. This was a lying spirit put into 400 prophets, 400 men that thought they were prophets of the Lord. Verse 7. And Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of the Lord besides that we might inquire of him? And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, or Jehoshaphat, There is yet one man, Micaiah the son of Imlah, by whom we may inquire of the Lord. So why was there a separation made? There was the king of Israel's prophets, Ahab's prophets, and there was prophets of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. It's a difference. Not everyone is a prophet of the Lord. You might be a prophet to your church. Not everyone is sent by the Lord to actually speak the thoughts and understandings of the Most High. See? Why would they go inquire of a prophet of the Lord after they just inquired from 400 prophets? Why is that? Gotta think about these things, man. Verse 8, and the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, there is yet one man, Micaiah, the son of Imlah, by whom we may inquire of the Lord. But I hate him, for he doth not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. See, they hated the real prophets because the real prophets will just tell it how it is, man. Why? Because they're of the Lord. They're not biased. They don't take sides. They just tell it how it is. And they follow the Lord in the spirit. They're from the Lord. And it's the same thing happening in these last days. Everyone thinks they're a prophet, but when the true prophet tells them something, oh, nah, man, You rebellious, you going off. Same thing they did to the prophets of old. Same thing they did to Jeremiah when they threw him in the dungeon and they threw him in the mire. Same thing they did to Isaiah. Same thing they did to Ezekiel. Except with Ezekiel, which I'm going to get, it says the elders and the priests came to inquire of Ezekiel the prophet. Why is that? You have men that claim, oh, we're the elders. Okay, you're elders. You get your respect for that. But it's a difference between being an elder and being a prophet sent from the heavens, man. It's a difference. And I'm trying to piece this lesson together through the spirit to give understanding. Because a lot of men don't have understanding of these things, man. Everyone is not a prophet. Everyone is not a teacher. Everyone is not an elder. See, the Lord, it says in Amos, the 3rd chapter, the Lord will do nothing but reveal his secrets to his servants, the prophets, not the king's servants, the prophets, not the elders' prophets. Because in all actuality, those prophets would be biased towards their king, towards their elder. Just like the 400 men did here to who? Ahab. To the point where what? Ahab and the king of Judah, Jehoshaphat, they, outside of the 400 prophets of Ahab, they wanted to inquire of another prophet, of the Lord. Why was there a separation made there? Because they would get a more exact reading through the spirit through an actual prophet of the Lord, which is why they went to go inquire of this man, even though Ahab hated him because all he did was tell the truth. Because Ahab was being wicked. And this prophet was telling him you being wicked. Well, on the other hand, you had the biased prophets of Ahab telling him, oh, no, king, you going to win. King, you don't do this. You going to win. Don't worry. Because they're speaking something out of their own mind and not of the spirit. 1 Kings 22. And Salaki, if this is all over the place, but I'm trying to piece this together to give understanding. 1 Kings 22. And 7, and Jehoshaphat or Jehoshaphat said, is there not here a prophet of the Lord besides that we may inquire of him? So the king of Judah perceived, he listened to the prophets of Ahab, but he perceived that, I want to get a better reading. So I'm going to go to an actual prophet. Is there not a prophet of the Lord here? Why is that said? Verse 8, and the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, there is yet one man, Micaiah the son of Imlah, by whom we may inquire of the Lord. But I hate him, for he doth not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. And Jehoshaphat said, let not the king say so. Then the king of Israel called an officer and said, hasten hither Micaiah the son of Imlah. And the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, sat each on his throne, having put on their robes in a void place in the entrance of the gate of Samaria, and all the prophets prophesied before them. All the prophets prophesied before them. All the prophets prophesied before them. There was many prophets. Was their interpretation and their understanding and their advice given? Was it specifically, or was it directly from the Lord? Probably not. Which is why Jehoshaphat peeped that through the spirit. And he was like, well, let's get another prophet from the Lord, a more serious prophet. You see? Verse 10, and the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, sat each on his throne, having put on their robes, in a void place in the entrance of the gate of Samaria, and all the prophets prophesied before them. And Zedekiah, the son of Canaah, made him horns of iron. And he said, thus saith the Lord, with these shalt thou push the Syrians until thou have consumed them. That was a first prophet. And all the prophets prophesied so, saying, go up to Ramoth Gilead and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it into the king's hands. So was the thing that all these prophets, they claim to be prophets. We all prophets. And they were all saying the same thing, but they were wrong. Why? Because the Lord has sent them a lying spirit. So all of them perceived the same lying spirit, and they told that lying spirit to the king, which Ahab didn't perceive, but the king of Judah perceived, which is why he said, may we inquire of a actual prophet of the Lord. Why did he say this? Because he perceived that them prophets wasn't right. Just like today, every prophet that claims they out there prophesying, that don't mean that what they saying is through the spirit, man. It's not of the Lord, man. Certain things men say, and they say they prophet, certain revelations they get, and certain understandings and spirits they put out, it's not of the Lord, man. Just as Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, seen with the prophets of Ahab. That they weren't prophesying right. They weren't in the spirit, basically, making this prophecy, giving him advice and counsel. So let's keep reading. Verse 13, and the messenger that was gone to call Micaiah spake unto him, saying, behold, now the words of the prophets declare good unto the king with one mouth. Let thy word, I pray thee, be like the word of one of them, and speak that which is good. So they try to tell him, oh yeah, just go ahead and say the same thing. When in his spirit, he like, nah, the Lord didn't send me that understanding. I don't get it. I have this understanding that the Lord sent me. That's the real prophet. So it's going to be many, many, many prophets saying the same thing, and you're going to have one outcast prophet, and you need to really pay attention to what he's saying, which is what King Ahab didn't like to do. He just wanted everybody to say good about him. Oh, yeah, you good, brother. You got it. You king. You going to get it. Yep, you going to win. You going to win, king. You getting it. You ain't going to lose. Imagine 400 men saying the same thing. Then you have one man come out of nowhere saying, nah, that's not right. And that's why King Ahab hated that man, this prophet, an actual servant of the Lord. See? Verse 14, and Micaiah said, as the Lord liveth, what the Lord saith unto me, that will I speak. So he came to the king, and the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And he answered him, go and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And the king saith unto him, how many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of the Lord? See, now that shows you the wickedness of King Ahab. First, he hated the fact that the man, this prophet, spoke to him the truth, because it made him feel bad, because it showed the king that he was wrong. Then when the prophet told him what he wanted, just like the other prophets, yeah, you're going to win, listen, like they said. Then he gets mad, which shows you King Ahab was an unreasonable man. That's all that shows too. Verse 16, and the king said unto him, how many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of the Lord? And he said, I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd. And the Lord said, these have no master, let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, did I not tell thee that he would prophesy no good concerning me, but evil? And he said, hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand. And the Lord said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And this is a counsel that the prophet is telling King Ahab that he's seen happen, to let him know that all the prophets around him, they lying to you. They're not sent from the Lord. So this is why I say you have to beware of which prophets you take a heed to in these last days. Not everybody is getting a counsel and pushing out the spirit of the Lord, man. This is why the scripture says not everybody is a prophet. This is what usually happens when men try to push into the office of a prophet when they're not. They have another office that the Lord gave them and they'll be cool. They're going to get a reward. But you have men in these last days, they want to push into another office that's not theirs. Just because you go out there and read scriptures, that don't mean that you're prophesying. You're actually reading the visions and prophecy of another man of the ancient world. And what you're doing is giving understanding on how it pertains to the time we're living in now. You're not prophesying, you're teaching. You are a teacher. You are a counselor. You're a government. This is why these things are said, man. First Kings 22:20, and the Lord said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. The king's prophets, not the Lord's prophets. The king's prophets. Pay attention to the context. I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets, the king's prophets. Which means that they're not necessarily prophets of the Most High. They're just would be considered seers and prophets of that time that pertain to the king, which shows you that does not mean if you are a part of a group, so on and so forth, that you are actually a prophet of the Lord. They were basically counselors and forecasters for that king, for his good, not for the good of the Lord, not with the true message and the true understanding sent from the Lord. It was a separation. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also, go forth and do so. Now, therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil concerning thee. But Zedekiah, the son of Kenana, went near and smote Micaiah on the cheek and said, which way went the spirit of the Lord from me to speak unto thee? So the real prophets were tormented for telling the truth. They were scoffed. They were thrown in like I said before, they were thrown in dungeons. They were sawed. They ran. They were hidden in caves. Why? Because they had the spirit of the Lord to see and tell the truth, to the point where what? People that didn't understand, they hated him. Even other prophets, false prophets during the time of these kings, they hated the real prophets. Not everyone is a prophet sent from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, man. Everyone says that they're prophets because what? This usually happens, like I said, I'm going to say it again, when men usually push out of what office the Lord gave them. The Lord, if a man is not a prophet sent from the Lord, he tries to push himself into being a prophet sent from the Lord. When he's actually a teacher, when he's actually an establisher of government, when he's actually an elder, when he's actually a priest. Let me get something real quick, man. This is why this happened with Micaiah, and I'm going to get this Ezekiel 13 too. Let's see here. Let's go to Amos. Now you may ask, why was the counsel of this one prophet different from the 400 other prophets that told the king a lie? Because the Lord will reveal secrets unto his servants, the prophets, not the servants of the king prophets, not the prophets of the king, the prophets of the Lord. Those are where the secrets go to. Amos, let's get it real quick. Amos 3:7. Amos 3:7. Surely the Lord Yahweh will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. So you have a difference. There's servants, the prophets that pertain to a king or a elder or a head or so on and so forth. And you have actual prophets that are separated, that are actually from the Lord. They're the Lord's servants. They're the Lord's prophets. The Lord sends them things. The Lord gives them understanding of things. Why? Because they're getting it and they're getting fed from the heavens. They're getting fed secrets from the heavens. All 400 of them other prophets that pertain unto Ahab, they were not being given. They are not being sent actual mysteries and secrets from the heavens. They were being sent lying spirits. The Lord really was not dealing with them. So even those prophets had to pertain unto what? Micaiah, an actual prophet, who the Lord showed visions, who the Lord showed mysteries, who the Lord showed dreams, who the Lord fed from the heavens through the Spirit, which is why King Ahab hated him, because all this prophet would do was tell the truth. And if it didn't pertain to Ahab's good, it was what it was. And you had actual righteous men, which is why you had Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah. You had actual righteous men that listened to the prophet, no matter if it was bad or good, because they understood through the Spirit, this man is not prophesying for me. He's prophesying for Yahweh B'Shem Shai, man. This is what we have to understand. You will have a lot of prophets, so-called prophets, that pertain only to the good of the king in the Spirit. They want to make the king or the elder, whoever, feel good. So they'll tell him what he wants to hear, when the prophets come to tell you what you need to hear. No matter who you are, no matter how high you are in rank. And it's the same thing taking place in these last days. And you have the same men doing these things. The actual you have men that you men go out here and teach that the prophets are back. You don't believe this? You don't believe this man that we're reading about in Kings is back? Bringing forth what? Understanding actually from the heavens? You don't perceive that what? Jeremiah and all the prophets are back? You have men that teach these things, but it shows that they don't believe this. Amos 3:7. Surely the Lord Yahweh will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, not Ahab's servants, not the king's servants, not the elder servants. The secrets are revealed to the Lord's servants, man. And things they say might cause controversy. But it's from the Lord, what? For correction. For more understanding. Not everyone is a prophet, which is what a lot of men don't understand now. You might just be a priest, a teacher, an establisher of government, counsel, an apostle, an evangelist. But the Lord does what? He reveals secrets to his servants, the prophets. And a lot of men don't like this, and you have that same spirit coming back. How you know a lot of men don't like this process and like this what the Lord does in process of using his prophets? Because what? They condemn the prophets. They say the prophet's crazy. They say the prophet's rebellious, which is why in that King's, the servant smote or he hit Micaiah in the head or in the mouth because he didn't agree with what he said when it was actually the counsel of the Lord. Let's go back. 1 Kings 22 and 25. And I'm trying to piece this together. And Lord willing, this is edifying and makes sense. 1 Kings 22 and 25. And Micaiah said, behold, thou shalt see in that day when thou shalt go into the inner chamber to hide thyself. Told him, all right, nigga, you go see. Since you want to beat and knock on me, and I'm trying to tell you trying to help you not go out there because all them other niggas around you lied. Because they don't understand. They need to be quiet and understand so they can be saved too. All right, y'all gonna go off your own will. And through the Spirit, I know it's not a message sent from the Lord. Why? Because Malachi broke it down on what happened in the heavens. And told the men that they're liars because the Lord sent them a lying spirit. But then they're going to beat and knock on this man for trying to tell them the truth. This is what they always did to the actual prophets. It's only what it's nothing new under the sun, man. Let's keep reading. Verse 24, we'll start at 24 again. 1 Kings 22:24. But Zedekiah, the son of Hananiah, went near and smote Micaiah on the cheek and said, which way went the Spirit of the Lord for me to speak unto thee? And Micaiah said, behold, thou shalt see in that day. Basically, all right, man, you going to see. Go out there if you want. When thou shalt go into an inner chamber to hide thyself. And the king of Israel said, take Micaiah and carry him back unto Amon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son, and say, thus said the king, put this fellow in prison and feed him with bread of affliction and with water of affliction until I come in peace. This is what they did to the prophets. They did the same thing to Jeremiah. They threw him in the mire. Why? Because all he was doing was telling the truth and he was actually trying to help them, man. He's actually trying to make them see things that the Lord was trying to tell them. He actually came with the message from the Lord. And what did they do? They rejected him. Just like when Yahushua came. The ultimate prophet. What did they do to him? Same thing. Said they disregarded him. They disallowed him. See? First Kings 22. 1 Kings 22:28. And Micaiah said, if thou return at all in peace, the Lord hath not spoken by me. And he said, hearken, O people, every one of you. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, went up to Ramoth Gilead. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, I will disguise myself and enter into battle, but put thou on thy robes. And the king of Israel disguised himself and went into the battle. So let's see if what the Micaiah said was true, or if what his 400 prophets said was true. But the king of Syria commanded his 30 and 2 captains that had rule over his chariot, saying, fight neither with small nor great, save only with the king only. And it came to pass when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat that they said, surely it is the king of Israel. And they turned aside to fight against him, and Jehoshaphat cried out. And it came to pass when the captains of the chariots perceived that it was not the king of Israel, that they turned back from pursuing him. And a certain man drew a bow at a venture, which means at a distance, and smote the king of Israel between the joints of the harness. Did not the Micaiah prophesy these things? He told him, if you go out there, you're going to be destroyed. But what? They mocked him. They hit him in the head, threw him in prison. And he was just trying to tell them the truth. They scoffed him, condemned him, told him he ain't nothing, tell him he rebellious. Then what happened? The king ended up getting killed, just like he said. And he tried to warn him and tell him. So what does that make you think of all those other 400 prophets that told him to go out there? It shows you that the Lord was not dealing with them like that. And a certain man drew a bow at a venture and smote the king of Israel between the joints of the harness. Wherefore he said unto the driver of his chariot, turn thine hand and carry me out of the host, for I am wounded. And the battle increased that day, and the king was stayed up in his chariot against the Syrians, and died at even, and the blood ran out of the wound into the midst of the chariot. And there went a proclamation throughout the host about the going down of the sun, saying, every man to his city and every man to his own country. So the king died and was brought to Samaria, and they buried the king in Samaria. See? So what was Micaiah, what he was saying, was it true? Or was what the 400 prophets were saying, was that true? And again, I'm trying to piece this together to give understanding, man. Not every prophet is a prophet of the Lord. Men make themselves prophets, and they stretch outside of their office of being just teachers and establishers of government and priests and elders and apostles. The Lord is only dealing with the prophets that he sent, the prophets that he shows things to. Let's get another example. This is Ezekiel. Actually, let's go to 14 first. Do I have anything over here? Nope. This is Ezekiel 14 and 1. Then came certain of the elders of Israel unto me. Unto who? Unto me. Who is the me? Ezekiel. So Ezekiel had elders. All right. Highly esteemed men come to him. Why did they come to him? To seek of the Lord. Just as the king Ahab him and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, they sought to who? They sought to Micaiah, the prophet of that time. Just like Jeremiah was giving consultation to who? Zedekiah, who didn't listen. See if I can grab that real quick, actually. Yep, it was to Zedekiah. Let's try to grab it real quick. Let's see here. Jeremiah 34. Let's open it up here. Jeremiah. Jeremiah 34 and 1. The word which came unto Jeremiah from the Lord, when Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and all his army and all the kingdoms of the earth of his dominion, and all the people fought against Jerusalem and against all the cities thereof, saying, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, Go and speak to Zedekiah, the king of Judah, and tell him, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will give this city into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he shall burn it with fire. And thou shalt not escape out of his hand, but shalt surely be taken and delivered into his hand. And thine eyes shall behold the eyes of the king of Babylon, and he shall speak with thee mouth to mouth, and thou shalt go to Babylon. Yet hear the word of the Lord, O Zedekiah, king of Judah. Thus saith the Lord of thee, Thou shalt not die by the sword, but thou shalt die in peace, and with the burnings of thy fathers, the former kings, which were before thee, so shall they burn orders for thee, and they will lament thee, saying, Ah, Lord, for I have pronounced the word, save the Lord. Then Jeremiah the prophet spake all these words unto Zedekiah king of Judah and Jerusalem, when the king of the Babylonians' armies fought against Jerusalem and against. When was Jeremiah telling Zedekiah these things? While the king was at war with Babylon. Jeremiah was telling me, you're gonna get conquered, you're gonna lose this war. How do you think that made that king feel? That king wanted to win. I'm gonna win. Jeremiah came around. I was like, nah. Just like Micaiah said, nah, you're not going to win this one. Nah, I'm telling you, I'm trying to tell you. If you can see what's happening now. And best believe Zedekiah had other seers and elders and counsel around him. They weren't giving him the counsel from the Lord. Only Jeremiah was. The actual prophets are very scarce. They're scattered. They're scarcely scattered throughout Israel, man. They did not hang around the elders and the kings. They were off to themselves. To the point where what? The elders had to go seek to them and bring them forth and go find them. Which is why Jehoshaphat and what? King said, is there any prophet that we may inquire of? So they had to go seek him. They had to go find him. You got a bunch of group of prophets say the same thing. You might want to rethink what they're saying. You might want to examine it. It's nothing new under the sun. As we dealt in the ancient world, it's the same thing today, man. Jeremiah 34. Jeremiah 34:6. Then Jeremiah the prophet spake all these words unto Zedekiah, king of Judah and Jerusalem. Then I'm going to read this. Then Jeremiah the prophet spake all these words unto Zedekiah, king of Judah in Jerusalem. When did he do this? When the king of Babylon's armies fought against Jerusalem. So he was trying to give him the message during the time war was going on. and against all the cities of Judah that were left, against Lachish and against Azekah, for these defense cities remained of the cities of Judah. So Zedekiah, we were at war during that time with the Babylonians. And Jeremiah came with a message telling them, you gonna lose, you gonna go into captivity. This is the word that came unto Jeremiah from the Lord. After that, the king Zedekiah had made a covenant with all the people which were at Jerusalem to proclaim liberty unto them, that every man should let his manservant and every man his maidservant, being an Hebrew or an Hebrewess, go free, that none should serve himself of them, to wit, of a Jew his brother. Now when all the princes and all the... Man, that's heavy, that 9th chapter. Now when all the princes and all the people which had entered into the covenant heard that everyone should let his manservant and everyone his maidservant go free, that none should serve themselves of them any more, then they obeyed and let them go. But afterwards they turned and caused the servants and the handmaids whom they had let go free to return, and brought them into subjection for servants and for handmaids. So Zedekiah didn't listen. First he did it, then he went back on his word. Double-minded man. That was a double-minded king. Therefore the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, I made a covenant with your fathers in the day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondmen, saying, At the end of 7 years, let go every man his brother and Hebrew, which hath been sold unto thee. So Zedekiah was going off. And when he has served 6 years, thou shalt let him go free from thee. But for your fathers hearken not unto me, neither incline their ear. And ye were now turned and had done right in my sight, in proclaiming liberty every man to his neighbor. And ye had made a covenant before me in the house, which is called by my name. But ye turned and polluted my name, and caused every man his servant and every man his handmaid, whom ye had set at liberty at their pleasure, to return, and brought them into subjection to be unto you for servants and handmaid and for handmaids again. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, ye have not hearkened to me in proclaiming liberty, every one to his brother, and every man to his neighbor. Behold, I proclaim liberty for you, saith the Lord, to the sword. Wow. To the pestilence and to the famine, and I will make you to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And I will give the men that have transgressed my covenant, which have not performed the words of the covenant, which they have made before me, when they cut the calf in twain and passed between the parts thereof, the princes of Judah and the princes of Jerusalem and the eunuchs and the priests, and all the people of the land which passed between the part of the calf. I will even give them into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of them that seek their life, and their dead bodies shall be for meat unto the fowls of the heaven, and to the beasts of earth. And look, let's see what happened. And Zedekiah king of Judah and his princes will I give into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of them that seek their life, and into the hand of the king of Babylon's army, which are gone up from you. Behold, I will command, saith the Lord, and cause them to return to the city, and they shall fight against it, and take it, and burn it with fire, and I will make the cities of Judah a desolation without an inhabitant. This is the message from the Lord that was given to Zedekiah. Why his priests didn't tell him this? Why the people around him didn't tell him this? Why the elders around him didn't tell him this? Because they were not being sent messages directly from the heavens, man. This is why the scriptures in the New Testament talks about false prophets. You had the actual prophets, Jeremiah, Micaiah, Ezekiel. They actually prophesied against false prophets. Isaiah. Let me get another scripture. See if I can find this. This is Jeremiah 38:1. Then Shephatiah the son of Mathan and Gadilah the son of Pashur and Akal the son of Shemaiah and Pashur the son of Malachiah heard the words that Jeremiah had spoken unto all the people, saying, Thus saith the Lord, he that remaineth in this city shall die by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. But he that goeth forth to the Chaldeans shall live, for he shall have his life for a prey, and shall live. Thus saith the Lord, this city shall surely be given into the hand of the king of Babylon's army, which shall take it. Therefore the princes said unto the king, We beseech thee, let this man be put to death. The princes of the king, his elders, his counsel around the king, they thought the Lord was dealing with them. When a man came to the forefront that had a contrary message to them, and they thought it was wickedness, but didn't understand it was actually from the Lord. So what? They cast him out. They cast him into the bond. They cast him into the mire. They disregarded him. They made fun of him. They got mad at him through their misunderstanding of the Lord and what was actually being said through that man. Ain't nothing new under the sun, man. This is happening today. Jeremiah 38:3, thus saith the Lord, this city shall surely be given into the hand of the king of the Babylon's army, which shall take it. Therefore the princes said unto the king, we beseech thee, let this man be put to death. For thus he weakeneth the hands of the men of war that remain in this city, and the hands of all the people, in speaking such words unto them. For this man seeketh not the welfare of this people, but the hurt. So they thought Jeremiah's message was contrary to life. They thought he was trying to ruin the people. They thought he was being rebellious towards the king. And he wasn't. He was trying to warn the people and save them. But they didn't listen. So let's see. Verse 5, then Zedekiah the king said, behold, he is in your hand, for the king is not he that can do anything against you. Then took they Jeremiah and cast him into the dungeon of Melchiah the son of Himelech, that was in the court of prison. And they let down Jeremiah with cords, and in the dungeon there was no water but mire. So Jeremiah sunk in the mire. See? Verse 7, now Abimelech, the Ethiopian, one of the eunuchs which was in the king's house, heard that they had put Jeremiah in the dungeon. The king then sitting in the gate of Benjamin, Abimelech went forth out of the king's house and spake to the king, saying, my lord the king, these men have done evil in that they have done to Jeremiah the prophet, whom they have cast into the dungeon, and he is like to die for hunger in the place where he is, for there is no more bread in the city. Then the king commanded Abimelech an Ethiopian, saying, take from hence 30 men with thee, and take up Jeremiah the prophet out of the dungeon before he die. So Abimelech took the men with him and went into the house of the king under the treasury, and took thence old cast clouts and old rotten rags, and let them down by cords into the dungeon to Jeremiah. And Abimelech the Ethiopian said unto Jeremiah, put now these old cast clouts and rotten rags under thine armholes under the cords. And Jeremiah did so. So they did draw up Jeremiah with cords, and took him up out of the dungeon, and Jeremiah remained in the courts of the prison. Then Zedekiah sent and took Jeremiah the prophet unto him into the third entry that is in the house of the Lord. And the king said unto Jeremiah, I will ask thee a thing, hide nothing from me. Then Jeremiah said unto Zedekiah, if I declare it unto thee, wilt thou not surely put me to death? You have the same sentiment going on now. You have men that are speaking the truth. Not going to say go into it much. We all see what's going on in Israel. It's the same thing that happened in the ancient world. Then Jeremiah said unto Zedekiah, if I declare it unto thee, wilt thou not surely put me to death? If I give thee counsel, wilt thou not hearken unto me? So the king sware secretly unto Jeremiah, saying, as the Lord liveth that made us this soul, I will not put thee to death, neither will I give thee into the hand of these men that seek thy life. Then said Jeremiah unto Zedekiah, thus saith the Lord, the God of hosts, the God of armies, the God of Israel, if thou wilt assuredly go forth unto the king of Babylon's princes, then thy soul shall live, and this city shall not be burnt with fire, and thou shalt live in thine house. But if thou wilt not go forth to the king of Babylon's princes, then shall this city be given into the hand of the Chaldeans, and they shall burn it with fire, and thou shalt not escape out of their hand. Now, we all know the history. I'm not going to keep reading. Did Zedekiah listen? No, he didn't. Therefore, what? Babylon was destroyed. That's when the southern kingdom was conquered. This is why we're in this condition. Because men that put themselves in the place of a prophet are not actually prophets. They're just teachers. They're counselors. They're establishers of government. The Lord separates his servants. That's why the kings and the priests and other prophets always had to seek out and look for the actual prophets. Let's get an example. Let's go to Ezekiel. And I don't want to make this too long. It's already went long enough. This is Ezekiel 14:1. Then came certain of the elders of Israel unto me. Who is the me? Ezekiel. Ezekiel's talking about himself. And sat before me. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their heart, and put the stumbling block of their iniquity before their face. Should I be inquired of at all by them? So Ezekiel already perceived these men, that the elders that came before him, they wasn't right. They was going off. He could already read their spirit. Through what? Through what? The understanding that the Lord sent them sent him about them, man. Therefore speak unto them, and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord, every man of the house of Israel that setteth up his idols in his heart, and putteth the stumbling block of his iniquity before his face, and cometh to the prophet, I the Lord will answer him that cometh according to the multitude of his idols, that I may take the house of Israel in their own heart, because they are all estranged from me through their idols. Therefore say unto the house of Israel, Thus saith the Lord, repent and turn yourselves from your idols, and turn away your faces from all your abominations. For every one of the house of Israel, or of the stranger that sojourneth in Israel, which separateth himself from me, and setteth up his idols in his heart, and putteth the stumbling block of his iniquity before his face, and cometh to the prophet to inquire of him concerning me, I the Lord will answer him by myself. And I will set my face against that man, and will make him a sign and a proverb, and I will cut him off from the midst of my people, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. And if the prophet be deceived when he have spoken a thing, I the Lord deceive that prophet, and I will stretch out my hand upon him, and will destroy him from the midst of my people. And they shall bear the punishment of their. So there was prophets that weren't of the Lord. There was prophets that the Lord was getting ready to judge. And these were actually perceived, and these were actually prophets. But you had Ezekiel, an actual prophet. He made and told them that what? You other prophets, if you don't change, the Lord is gonna deal with you. Because of what? Their actions that he just stated in the previous scriptures and verses, man. And if the prophet be deceived when he have spoken a thing, I the Lord have deceived that prophet. And I will stretch the same thing that happened with King Ahab's prophets. It says, I, the Lord, will deceive that prophet, and I will stretch out mine hand upon him, and will destroy him from the midst of my people, Israel. And they shall bear their punishment of their iniquity. The punishment of the prophet shall be even as the punishment of him that seeketh unto him, that the house of Israel may go no more astray from me, neither be polluted any more with all their transgressions, but that they may be my people, and I may be their power, saith the Lord Yahweh. See? So other prophets, elders, priests, princes, counselors, all sought to who? Ezekiel. Like I said before, even other prophets sought to this major prophet Ezekiel. And men teach that what? The prophets are back. This is why we need to really pay attention now in these last days, especially in these last times, man. What men are saying, because it might be from the Lord, man. Did I have anything else? This is Ezekiel 13:1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the prophets of Israel that prophesy. So you did have other prophets. Were they getting messages from the Lord? No, they were prophesying out of their own mind. What they think, how they see things. And you have this today. Ezekiel 13:2. Son of man, prophesy against the prophets of Israel that prophesy, and say thou unto them that prophesy out of their own hearts, hear ye the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, woe unto the foolish prophets that follow their own spirit and have seen nothing. O Israel, thy prophets are like the foxes in the deserts. Ye have not gone up into the gaps, neither made up the hedges for the house of Israel to stand in the battle in the day of the Lord. They have seen vanity and lying divination, saying, the Lord saith, and the Lord have not sent them. And they have made others to hope that they would confirm the word. So others listen to these certain prophets in these last days, and they believe what they're saying is the truth, when what they're saying is just something that they perceive to be right, something that they understand, which needs correction by an actual prophet. This is what's happening in the last days, man. Verse 7, have ye not seen a vain vision, and have ye not spoken a lying divination, whereas ye say the Lord saith it, albeit I have not spoken? Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because ye have spoken vanity and seen lies, therefore, behold, I am against you, saith the Lord. And mine hand shall be upon the prophets that see vanity and divine lies. They shall not be in the assembly of my people, neither shall they be written in the writing of the house of Israel. Neither shall they enter into the land of Israel, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. Because even because they have seduced my people, saying peace, and there was no peace. And one built up a wall, and lo, others daubed it with untempered mortar. Say unto them which daub it with untempered mortar, that it shall fall. There shall be an overflowing shower, and ye, O great hailstones, shall fall, and a stormy wind shall rend it. So you have prophets out here that they're not in the spirit. They got to get in the spirit to let the people know, to let our people know. You have prophets prophesying out of their own mind, agreeing with other men just because they said something. Yeah, that is right. And, knowing something is telling them different, which is really the Lord. This is what's happening in the last days. That's why Ecclesiastes 1:9 says there's nothing new under the sun. We all have to we all have to listen to what the Spirit said according to the scriptures and go back and look. Damn, that's happening again. Yeah, that is what's going to happen. Dang. But no, you have men that want to follow their own counsel. And if another group of other men say something, they just follow right along with it. Knowing in their spirit that what they think it is, and they're like, nah, but I'm just going to go along with it. Nah, can't do that, man. And we're all held under this. That's why the Lord said you have to come in truth and in sincerity. This is why these things are said. So I'm not going to make this too long. Everyone is not a prophet of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, man. Unless what? They humble themselves to what? What the Spirit is telling them. Not what they think. Not mixing what they think with what they're hearing. Not mixing what they think and what they're hearing with what the Lord's telling them. Lord willing else edifying, call halal, Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahweh Shai, Bahashum, Rakah Kudash. Abba Babal.